So now, given that, I took a look at the schedule during the break, and I am sure people are going to want to again submit additional supplemental testimony. And I noticed, and I think this was a little awkward anyway, and this may be something, let me just say what I think, and you may want to discuss it later. We already had this very key, so first the PUC had 3 days of hearings on this. We had 5 scheduled, and I'm sure, judging by today, that we will need them all and maybe more. They were bifurcated, with one December 6th, and then the next one not until January 8th. So now you not only have the FERC decision that you mentioned, Mr. Blazer, but this decision. So I wanted to suggest that the actual hearings on cost and need should begin January 8th instead of beginning December 6th.
Possibly a way to proceed under the circumstances, since you're suggesting an additional round of supplemental testimony. Maybe enough time, but I don't know if it is. Maybe we can make a date in December, a date by which to file additional supplemental.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Right. Okay.
Didn't get to that. So what I was thinking was when we have a date in December, December 14th, I was going to suggest for filing supplemental testimony, and then we go forward with the hearing on January 8th. Mr. Elmer?
May I have just a moment to confer?
Sure.
December 14th or something. Yeah. Director Coit, while Mr. Elmer is conferring, we were just talking among ourselves, one additional suggestion. We're now going to have really 3 sets of testimony on need. I would suggest that we consolidate it all, so you're not looking at 3 different sets of testimony. If that's even workable, it just...
They're already all marked as exhibits, and we just need to take administrative notice of the PUC docket. Would it be possible to, I don't think it makes sense to supplant all the previous, but maybe you could try to consolidate it?
That was what I was suggesting.
Leaving aside the underlying issue about another round of testimony, CLF respectfully disagrees with Mr. Blazer about supplanting the prior testimony. The prior testimony from all the parties is stuff that these people actually put in, and we get to cross-examine them on the things that they said. So we're not supplanting or replacing any prior testimony.
Right, that's what I just said.
Okay.
We're not supplanting it. It's marked, it's needed, it's relevant to credibility, but what we're talking about is a new round, and I think the suggestion is, but it sounds like you don't like it, is that not supplanting the other, but that you try to make a comprehensive statement.
I was talking about consolidating.
Is that what that is?
From our point of view, one of the problems is expense with the expert witness, and the expert witness that we have, Mr. Walker, has put multiple testimonies together. What he usually tries to do each time he supplements is, at the beginning, he does a brief summary of how we got here. And I think that makes sense in terms of us persuading people who are reading it so they can put it in context. But to try to actually bring all the previous testimony together in one big consolidated piece of testimony is something that we don't think is a good idea.
Okay.
And
Let me ask counsel, do you want to have this discussion separately with the attorneys and come back with a schedule, or I be prepared to have it now and try to come up with one?
I think they should file supplemental testimony as they did in the last round that specifically addresses the disqualification or ISO's request to terminate the CSO. The other testimony that's been filed seems to be sufficient to address the other change of circumstances. I think at this point, the only change that's occurred since that supplemental testimony was filed is ISO's request to terminate Unit 1 CSO. So that should be all that's needed for that for the supplemental testimony to this point. And unless, of course, there's another circumstance that occurs.
Yeah, I wouldn't
which we
limit
haven't had,
people to, I agree that's
Yeah.
the major incident, but I wouldn't limit people to that.
Yeah, for example, there was also the Unit 2 second disqualification that just occurred. There was this, as I mentioned in my opening 2 days ago, ISO submitted some proposed rules to FERC regarding energy storage. I think those should be addressed as well, but I think anything that occurred since the last supplemental filings is fair game.
Exactly. That's what I was intending.
Chairperson. CLF does not oppose getting a new round of testimony to account for the new circumstances, especially in light of the rejection of the PUC advisory opinion. CLF does want to note for the record that we are eager to move this case along as quickly as we can, being fair to all the parties. Invenergy has had multiple opportunities seriatim to get their metaphorical ducks in a row, and it's time to continue the final hearing and vote on the application. We agreed to another round of testimony based on the new circumstances, but we'd like the record to reflect our strong interest in an expeditious resolution of the docket.
The town agrees with Mr. Elmer.
Given what happened with the first two motions, I hazard to say we have agreement, but I think we have agreement.
So, looking at the schedule, we have dates November 28th, December 5th, and December 6th. I think we need to keep December 6th, which was going to be the beginning of cost and need, because some of the others may spill over. And we'll plan that we start cost and need on January 8th. That parties will have until December 14th for the supplemental, to file supplemental motions. It's file supplemental testimony. And anything else, council, on that schedule that you'd want to say?
We do. Hold on, excuse me, Mr. Allen. So we are also awaiting another decision. Are we not still in a period where we're waiting a decision from FERC?
Yes, that's Mr.
But
Blazer.
isn't that?
That's November. I believe that's due in November.
Right, okay,
Yes.
so we're keeping December 6th. I just want to make sure I have everything. Everything else is...
We're keeping December 6th because we might have spillover from some of the earlier.
It's just tomorrow when they're going to be out.
Presuming that we have the decision.
No, the decision.
It will not be about cost and need. It will be January 8th, and we assume we'll be back together plenty of times. But Mr. Blazer, you mentioned, I can't remember,
November 19th.
19th was the date we have our first decision.
That's what it's expected.
Mr. Elmer.
I was just going to suggest that you mentioned a date after Thanksgiving to confirm that with EFSB council so that we all know what the correct date is. The one late November after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we have November 27th. That is scheduled for procedural motions. I believe there are two motions by the town. One is for to allow the QDN as a full exhibit, and the other one is to
The PUC advisory. But that,
regarding the PUC advisory opinion, and then you also filed a motion regarding FERC.
Yeah.
And that will be scheduled for November 27th also. We'll resume testimony on November 28th. We'll have witnesses on traffic and the new access road. December 5th, we have witnesses on cultural and historic issues, lighting, noise, and visual impacts, which I anticipate may spill over to December 6th because we have DOH advisory opinion, DEM advisory opinion, and yes, the DEM advisory opinion, and Mr. Goff, the Barberville Town Planner, all scheduled for December 5th. I anticipate that will spill into December 6th.
That clears up my issue. Director Coit had, I believe, mentioned a different November date for the motion practice, and you clarified that that is in fact on November 27th.
Yes.
So thank you for that clarification.
Just one additional thing, I believe for November 27th, the only motion that's currently pending is the one from CLF to seeking that the board take administrative notice of the FERC filings, is that
For
correct?
full
Yes.
admission of Energy's October 11th FERC filing.
There were two from the town that were filed that pretty much joined, but they were separate motions filed by the town on the QDN and the PUC brief. Those were not put on today's hearing notice because we didn't receive them until after the notice was published. Those two motions.
Mr. McElroy, are you withdrawing those motions? Are they still
I
relevant?
cannot withdraw the motions, but I would like to make a suggestion that since all parties are in agreement how to handle the motions, and the ruling essentially approved the agreement we reached, does it really need to be on for an open meeting? If it does, I have no
Will you
problem.
pass them? Or will
I
you
can't pass them because I got to preserve,
Okay.
as I mentioned to you before, if we end up in the Supreme Court, which I hope does not happen, and if for some reason the town ends up being the only party allowed to participate, if I haven't made my own motions, I lose them.
Okay, and the board just won't be able, we just won't schedule one for that time.
I believe they're moved, but with respect to the one, to Mr. Elmer's motion about our filing FERC, we don't have any objection. So I think we just handle that now.
Well, Mr. Blazer, do you really think that moot, or are you prepared to agree that my motions should be handled the same way the CLF motions were? For the QDN and for the...
Can we just take 30 seconds?
It's a procedural
If I may, with respect to the town's separate motions with respect to the QDN and the PUC, given what we did today, we have no objection to dealing with them exactly the same way.
And with regard to CLF's motion, which would otherwise be scheduled on November 27th, CLF did say this in our cover email to Dr. Bianco and to Ms. Lucarelli, that we believe that there may be additional filings by parties in the two pending FERC dockets that we would similarly ask the EFSB to take administrative notice of. We cannot and have not sent them in yet because they don't exist yet. They haven't been filed yet. But what I said in that earlier email was that we, for administrative convenience, would hope to gang them up in one filing and put them all in at once. But I don't control when those documents come into existence.
And we can stipulate whatever has been or will be filed in the FERC proceedings. We'll agree that the board can take administrative notice of them, and since we're directly involved in it, I don't think CLF is intervening, the town has. We will endeavor to provide them to the board as soon as they are filed.
Then those motions don't have to be filed. You can just introduce those on the day of the hearing.
That's fine. Our interest is in substance. We want the documents to be available to the EFSB. There's no objection, and I'm happy to proceed that way.
It appears that we will not need the November 27th procedural day, but we should probably preserve it for now.
We should preserve it for the attorneys in case there are issues
Okay.
that we can make it necessary.
If I recall correctly, originally we grabbed that date because it was after when we expected the FERC ruling, so it probably makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Is there anyone who is confused about where things stand now, so they need to be restated? I hesitate to do that because it seems like everyone's
We're all set.
set. Okay. Council, is there anything further on this matter?
Not on docket 2015-06.
Okay. Thank you all.